So there's a problem, and it has to do with this seat, which in effect is a problem for the whole freaking Mercedes Formula 1 team. What's wrong with it? Well, it's the driver that they got to put in it, or rather, which driver they got to put in it. The concept of putting someone in the fastest car on the grid sounds simple enough, right? Well, if it was, there wouldn't be such a big freaking debate about it, wouldn't there? So, a little summary for those of you somewhat unaware of this whole thing. The Mercedes Formula 1 team is the top team in Formula 1. They have the best cars and the best drivers. They also have Valtteri Bottas, one half of the team's current lineup, alongside the 7-time champion of the world, Sir Lewis Hamilton. Bottas entered into the Mercedes lineup back in 2017, after previous year's champion Nico Rosberg had fled into retirement. This left Mercedes with the dilemma of trying to find out who to put in that second Mercedes seat against one of the greatest drivers to walk this planet. Thanks to his role as a Mercedes junior driver, Bottas got the nod for the seat. Although, he did have some competition from fellow Mercedes junior, Pascal Wehrlein. The reason why they gave the seat to Valtteri over Pascal? Well, apparently, it was down to experience. Bottas had 4 years in Formula 1, compared to Pascal's 1. So Valtteri entered the 2017 season as a Mercedes driver and has since gone on to win 9 Grand Prix, was vice champion twice, and everything for the Mercedes team has been working in relative harmony, holding hands and singing Kumbaya and shit. So what's the problem? Well, basically, it's not one problem, it's 3, that ultimately leads to 1. Got it? Me neither, I tripped myself up there, I'm sorry. Let's kick it off with George Russell. Now, I went over this guy in a video last week, touting how he needs to be in that Mercedes. Do I stand by that? Yeah, but the world isn't fair and having him in the Mercedes seat may not be what the relevant parties want. Basically, it comes down to this. Russell has been in the Williams F1 team for 3 years now and remains a part of the Mercedes junior team that Valtteri himself was a part of. Coincidentally, they were in the same team, under the guise of the Totonator.
Get to the chopper.
The case for having Russell in the Mercedes seat has some strength to it, given his performance at the Sakhir Grand Prix last year, and his record in Williams, especially with his qualifying, has been remarkable. However, his more staunch of critics will stand by their claim that Russell is nothing more than a Saturday merchant, and that come Sunday, he crumples like a flake in a meat grinder. Even with the performance that he put in at Sakhir, having had very little time in the car, and had convincingly outpaced teammate Valtteri Bottas that whole weekend. Well, nearly all of it. However, rumors abound some of the Mercedes hierarchy have placed some of the blame at the feet of Russell for the pit stop errors that took place. I mean, okay. And his gymnastics with Bottas at Imola didn't really elevate him off the bottom of the shit list, so tricky. But is this much of a problem if he is Mercedes' top prospect? Well, yeah, because he's not the only one vying for the seat. Over at Alpine, Esteban Ocon is making up for a lukewarm 2020 where, yeah, you got that one podium, but he struggled to better teammate Daniel Ricciardo in his time there. But after having been out of the cockpit for a year, and in a new team, up against Honey Badger here, we had to give him time for crying out loud. Now here we are in 2021, and Ocon has stepped up at Alpine, against the likes of the Lord of the Eyebrows. Let us also not forget his performances at the Force India team when he wasn't tangling with teammate Checo. And this hasn't gone unnoticed at the Mercedes camp, with Toto Wolff himself saying that Ocon had been growing at Alpine, and that he would not rule him out for any future openings at Mercedes. However, he's also said that Ocon's future is essentially up to him. Does he want to try for the Mercedes seat? Or does he want to continue with Alpine? Whatever way you look at it, we now have a potential for a 3-way battle for the Mercedes seat next year. You could also throw Max Verstappen's hat into the ring, but with the potential for friction at the team, along with the rumored veto imposed against him by Sir Lewis, it's kind of unlikely at this stage to be happening, and that ultimately will play a factor. Yeah, vetoing drivers is a bit of a dick move, but he's not the first one to do it, and just quietly, he won't be the last one to do it, I'll tell you that for free. So with that in mind, what is likely to happen next season? Will they pick Valtteri? Will they pick George? Or will they run with Esteban? Well, history dictates that should there be a change of drivers come 2022, it would most likely go to the driver with the most experience. And between Russell and Ocon, the one with the most experience is Ocon. Having said that, Russell has not been deprived of Mercedes equipment since entering Formula 1, and as we saw with his one-off appearance for Merc at Sakhir, he can hustle that thing around a racetrack. Mercedes could very easily point out that Russell can hit the ground running, which is something that they'd obviously want, and with Ocon being a somewhat mercurial driver, that may give the edge to Russell. Honestly, there's a valid case for both drivers, but do either of them really want to leave their teams heading into next year, with the new regs and everything? There is potential for a major shake-up on the grid, and so if Williams pull a remarkable 180, use the injection of money to good use, and get themselves up into contention somehow. Russell may be kicking himself at the prospect of seeing King Latifi sail past with a victory. I know it's highly unlikely, but in this game, you never know. Same deal with Ocon too. Prospects for Alpine look decent, and a French driver in a French team, it's historically gone well for the first 20 laps. It is a bit of a gamble to leave the team, especially given a seat at Mercedes means a straight up battle against the greatest driver of this generation. Nico Rosberg experienced that and barely got out alive. Now Valtteri is there and people are asking for his head because despite having been with the Mercedes team since 2017, he's failed to properly challenge Hamilton for the title. Now while this may sound like the best option for Mercedes, to have two drivers that don't cause trouble yet still romp home with maximum points, if a team caught up to them with two drivers that could very feasibly foil their plans. What they don't want is a driver that can't defend or pass when the time comes. But then that brings up the other issue. Could Hamilton prevent either of these two from getting a seat? He will ultimately have a hand in this deal, unless he's not there next year, but let's be real, it's not going to happen. But ultimately, a lot of it rests on the shoulders of the Totonator. So really, I guess my plea to Toto Wolff here is that while Valtteri can be very fast on a lot of days, it's time to draft in a driver that can, without stirring the run with Sir Lewis on a weekly basis. Both Ocon and Russell are two very good candidates for this job. But personally, if you had to ask me which of these two to pick, I would pick George Russell. But that isn't who you want, right? Actually, I brought this up for a reason. I recently had this iconic moment made up into a print, and thanks to the awesome people at Go for the Gap, we'll be giving away one of these prints. All you gotta do is answer this question, provide a link to something on the store that you like, and submit the answers to this email address. The winner will be announced in next week's video. Comprende? So anyways, thank you all for watching, drop a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you're awesome, and always remember, keep it respectful, be wholesome, don't be a manus, and as always, I'll see you all later.